County Township Justice Court now in session. Honorable Judge Herrington presiding.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. It is June 12th, 2025. I'm Judge Herrington. We're here on case 20 CR 82, State of Nevada versus Roger Eugene Hillygus. Good morning, Mr. Hillygus. Mr. Hillygus is here with his attorney, Sir Ryan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ryan McPhee.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome to court. And the state is also here, represented by Deputy District Attorney Stralla. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Okay, so as I said, today's date is June 12th, 2025. This is stemming from a criminal complaint that was originally filed on July 7th, 2020. Excuse me, I need to get some water. Like everybody else, I'm suffering from allergies. Thank you. If I sneeze, I don't have the cold, just allergies. And that complaint was amended on May 23rd, 2025. Mr. McPhee, did you get a copy of that amended complaint?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you have an opportunity to review it with your client?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Is his name spelled correctly?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and that complaint sets forth, the amended criminal complaint sets forth an allegation of breach of peace, a violation of Surrey County Code 804020, and Nevada Revised Statute 203010, that's a misdemeanor. So this is set for a bench trial today, and we did have Mr. Hillygus was afforded an arraignment much earlier on in this case. And are both parties ready to proceed with a trial today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I am ready with 2 witnesses today that are under subpoena. I was informed this morning that one of the witnesses, Mr. Philip Hilton, who was served with the subpoena, is at home down in Lockwood. His wife's really ill and he can't leave the house. He's requesting that he be able to appear via Zoom today. I believe the defense is going to object to that. He's a material witness in this case. I'm going to need him to proceed, Judge. So if we get to that portion of the trial where I'm going to use him, I'm going to have to make a motion to continue with mid-trial to have him come up here unless the court allows him to appear via Zoom.
Okay, and if and when we get to that point, I'll hear from both of you and we'll decide what to do. Okay?
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay, otherwise are we ready to proceed?
Yeah, I want to get this going. It's almost 5 years old, Judge. It's time.
Mr. McPhee, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Do we have witnesses? In
Yes,
the
let me
courtroom?
bring them in the courtroom. It's Sylvia Gonzalez and Mr. Gunther, I forget his last name.
Who were okay, my clerk is going to swear you in.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that the statement you're about to make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes? Yes. Okay. So, Mr. Stralla, who will you be calling first?
My first witness will be Sylvia Gonzalez. Your Honor.
Okay, so to the other witness, I'm telling you that you're admonished that what we're going to do is you're going to sit in the lobby. Do you understand that?
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh,
You're the other witness. And you're admonished that you are not to discuss your testimony with any other witness during or after testimony. This is for you too, Ms. Gonzalez. Either after testifying, if you go back out in the lobby, you're not to discuss your testimony with any other witness. And I'm requesting that both parties monitor the courtroom to ensure that any potential witnesses stay outside the courtroom. Understood by everyone?
Yes.
Welcome. Driving great. So who are we calling first?
Sylvia Gonzalez, Your Honor.
Ms. Gonzalez, why don't you come on up? Sir, you're going to go out in the lobby and you know what your punishment is. Go ahead, Mr. Stralla.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Just a second. I need a little. Just a moment. Thank you. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Would you please state your full name for the record and spell your last name?
Okay. My name is Sylvia Teresa Gonzalez Lopez. Gonzalez, Gonzalez.
Did you say Gonzalez Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez.
L-O-P-E-Z.
Okay, and you've been placed under oath. Go ahead, Mr. Stralla.
Your Honor, if you don't mind, I'll stay seated. I know the recording's better with me.
You're what?
I'm going to stay seated when I question her, and I know that the microphone's better for the recording.
Yeah, Mr. McPhee, these microphones pick up a lot better when you're seated. We're trying to get the ones that hang down from the ceiling. It's only taking us 3 or 4 years to do that. So you're not being rude or anything if you don't stand up.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Ms. Gonzalez, where do you reside?
404 Avenue de la Blue de Claire, Sparks.
Is that located in Story County, Nevada?
Yes.
And who do you live there with?
My husband and my 3 kids.
Okay. How long have you lived at that location?
12 years now.
What's your occupation?
I'm a school secretary for Story County School District.
Is that the school in the Lockwood neighborhood?
Yes.
What's the name of that school?
Hillside Elementary School.
Okay. And how long have you worked there?
It's gonna be 10 years.
I want to go back about 5 years ago to June 20th, 2020. Were you living at your residence at that time?
Yes.
And did you have pets? Did you have pets?
Yes. At that, 5 years ago, I had 3 pets. Now I only have 2.
Okay, what kind of pets?
And at that point, it was a lab, a black lab, a husky. She was a puppy, and my little Shih Tzu Chihuahua mix.
And how would you describe your neighborhood?
Very calm, very nice neighborhood. We've lived there for 12 years and never had issues until that day.
Okay.
But it was the neighbors, my neighbors around are very nice.
Is one of your neighbors Gunther Prosser?
Yes,
And is another one of your neighbors Philip Bailey?
yes.
Philip Hilton,
Hilton.
excuse me.
Hilton, yes.
And where does Gunther live?
Right next door, so my 404, he's at 405.
Okay. And what about Philip Hilton?
He does live around the corner, so on another street,
Okay,
but very close to my house, yeah.
all right. Did you, you mentioned that you had a puppy, a husky?
Yes, a husky, and she was given to me for Mother's Day. And that day I went on a run with her. It's like I usually do every Saturday.
Hey, was she on a leash?
Yes.
What-
Because those are the rules that also at Rainbow Bend. If you're walking your dog, or your dog should be on a leash.
Okay, so the residential area is called Rainbow Bend.
Correct, yes.
So what time of morning or what time of day did you take the dog out for a run or walk?
It must have been before 10 a.m.
So it was in the morning?
Yes, it was in the morning.
Okay, and were you by yourself?
Yeah, it's just my dog and me, yes, running
Okay.
around the neighborhood.
Okay, where were you headed?
At that point, I was heading back home. It was a very end street to get to my house. I
So you-
would usually do the whole neighborhood, just,
Okay, how long had you been walking at that point?
maybe 30 minutes.
Okay. And had you had any problems during the walk up until this point?
Oh, yeah, no.
What occurred next?
I was heading towards it was the last street.
What's the name of the street, you know? That's okay.
Maybe then I'll work, I'm not sure to be
Okay.
honest. And as I was jogging, the first house that I passed, I see 2 big loose dogs. What I did, just turned around.
Why did you do that?
My dog was a puppy at that time, and I was by myself. I had 2 big dogs.
Okay, with regard to those 2 dogs, were they on a leash or a chain?
No, they were loose. 2 big loose dogs. And so I just turned around, didn't say anything. I turned around.
Was there anybody there with the dogs at that point that you noticed?
I saw a couple. I saw a couple standing where I was not so close to the dogs because the dogs were just loose and roaming around the houses.
Okay. When you say a couple, how would you describe them?
Caucasian couple standing there just in front of a driveway,
Male or female?
male and a female.
Okay. What occurred next?
So I turned around with my husky. At that point, I noticed that the dogs started chasing me, started following me. Thinking it's for my dog, wanted to come and smell or something. I turned around and I asked the couple are they your dogs? Can you put them on the leash? Can you get a hold of your dogs?
How did you,
I
what tone
yelled.
of voice did you use?
I did yell it out because they were far away from me. They were maybe here to the door or a little bit more, yeah. And I yelled out
To come get their dogs?
to get are these your dogs? Can you please get your dogs? I even used the word please.
Okay.
I was trying to be as nice, but I
Okay,
know
well,
that.
hang on a second. So how are you feeling at this point?
First I was just a little scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want these dogs to like be aggressive towards my dog. So that's why I was getting a little nervous.
Okay.
As soon as I said that, the male came towards me really aggressive.
Hang on, we'll go over this kind of slow. Is the male in the courtroom today?
Yes,
Can you describe what he's wearing, where he's seated?
he's seated right across from me, blue tie, black tie, tuxedo.
May the record reflect identification of the defendant.
Okay, the record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. Go ahead.
Okay, you said he came at you aggressively,
Yes.
so what do you mean by that?
The moment I said that to them, he just started walking as fast as walking as fast as he could towards me, came really close to my face.
How close did he get to your face?
About a foot, he was right here in my face, and he said, I'm just walking my fucking dog, I'm just walking my fucking dog, kept repeating it and being aggressive when it came to the tone of voice. And Jesus at that point.
Okay, hang on a second. So when he got, I'll use the term, when he got in your face and he said, I'm just walking my fucking dog, how did that make you feel?
I was just walking backwards. As he was walking towards me, I kept walking backwards, and I forgot to mention that he had one of his dogs by a collar and grabbing the dog, because the dog kept trying to get away from him because he was being aggressive.
One of the big dogs that you had seen?
Yes, he had grabbed one of the dog's collars and walking towards me with the dog and saying, I'm just walking my fucking dog, and kept on repeating that and coming towards me, and I would have kept on walking backwards.
Why were you walking backwards?
I was afraid he was gonna come towards me and hit me.
Okay.
At that point, I was more scared of him than the dogs. The dogs at that point, I think I forgot about the dogs because it was the way he was coming at me.
What would you describe as facial
He
expression?
was very aggressive, and the features in his face and everything, and the tone of voice and the wording that he was using, not friendly at all, not wanting to ask me anything, nothing. It was just coming
Okay.
towards me.
Have you ever seen the defendant before this day?
No.
What happened next?
Jesus, we were, at that point, it was happening in the driveway of someone that at that point I didn't really know, but it was Jesus and Philip Hilton that were outside. And they came in between both of us and asked him, hey, what's going on, man? Like, what's going on? And that one, I don't know what they were talking about.
What
they
did
said
you do
to
when
each
they were
other.
talking to him?
Philip's wife came out, and she pulled me to the side and said, honey, you need to come over here, like, it's okay and everything. But then he kept calling me out and saying that he was just walking his fucking dog, and I honestly don't remember exactly what other
Okay.
things he said.
How were you still feeling afraid? You said you were afraid.
Yes, at that point, Philip's wife did mention, like, if I wanted to go in, get a drink or something, get a drink of water, I needed to go under the shaking.
Okay. What happened next?
The police would call it,
Did you call the police?
yes, I called the police, Officer Welch showed up.
Okay, when you called the police, what was the defendant doing?
Philip and Jesus were talking to him, and he was just being, I don't know, to be honest,
Oh, okay. You were trying to keep your distance?
Yeah, just trying to keep my distance and my dog with me, and
Okay. You called the police, then what happened?
the officer showed up,
How long did that take?
to be honest, like maybe not even 10 minutes probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when the deputy showed up or the police showed up, was the defendant still there at that point?
Yeah, he kept on going back and forth, but he was there very close.
When you say he was going back and forth, where was he going to and then coming back?
Where the female was at.
How far away was that from where you were
So
standing?
like maybe two, 3 houses away from that.
So
from their house.
he didn't just leave, he kept coming back and forth?
Mhm.
And was he saying anything when he was coming back? and
Yeah, I just blocked him. I was just shaking and scared. I didn't want to hear anymore what he was saying. And I felt that Philip and Jesus, I felt like protected.
Okay.
Like
How would you describe his demeanor, the way he was acting when he was coming back and forth?
aggressive, upset, like he was just aggressive.
And could you hear him loudly speaking?
Yes.
Okay. So the police show up, then what happens?
Honestly, I explained the situation to the officer, and it made me really upset that he said, oh, there's nothing I can do, but just stay away from him.
Okay.
And
Then what occurred?
so I was just, I think I was more in tears because I was like, well, this is useless, like calling the police.
Okay.
But Jesus, Philip suggested to Jesus, his son, to walk me to my house. So I didn't have to walk home
Okay.
because he was standing in the way where I was going to be walking.
When you say he, you're talking about the
Yes.
defendant? Okay, so Jesus agreed to escort you back to your
Yes.
home. Then what happened?
And when Jesus and I were walking past him, we tried to go as further away from him as we could.
How far were you?
20 feet away from him, that's how far we could go
Okay.
maybe, and
What was he doing, the defendant, when you walked past
flipping me
him?
off, saying a whole bunch of things, called me a fucking bitch, said that I would have a knife or a weapon, that I was gonna hurt him, that he was at his house and I was gonna hurt him. Oh, they were gonna hurt, that's what he said, they're coming to hurt me, they're coming to something, I don't know, he just kept on saying that we were gonna hurt him.
And when he was saying that stuff to you and flipping you off, how did you feel?
But even more scared, because at that point I'm thinking, he knows where I live, he knows where I'm going, he's gonna come in my house, and so all I could think about was my kids.
Okay, were you offended by his conduct?
I was scared, I was just scared and offended, but mostly scared than anything.
Were you threatened by his behavior?
Yes.
Then what happened?
So at that point, Jesus just not strong enough. I said, okay, it was only like 2 houses away for me to walk, a house and then my house, which was Gunther's. And as I'm passing Gunther's, walking to Gunther's lawn, my neighbor, he comes down and says, happy birthday, Sylvia, because I knew it was my birthday. He comes down and says, happy birthday, hi neighbor, happy birthday. He always says, hi neighbor, so. And I'm just like shaking and I don't know what to say and I'm in tears and well, I'm like, oh, thank you. And I was like, but I didn't know what to say. So at that point, I see the gentleman come behind
When you said the gentleman,
him,
the defendant,
the defendant, he comes, he's behind me, very close to me, recording me with a puppy in his hand and saying, to be honest, I forget what he said, but he's just saying a whole bunch of things and recording me,
how did you feel at that point?
even more threatened.
Okay,
Even more threatened because I'm like, I'm right next to my house. I don't even know if he knows that this is my house right next door, but I'm way more threatened, scared. And all I could tell Gunther is like, Gunther, he's harassing me. I don't know what to do. What do I do? And I just started crying and I see Officer Welch around the corner driving up. And all I said, I pointed to him and I said, he's over here threatening me and he's recording me saying a whole bunch of things. And I see Officer Welch heading that way and all I saw was he got arrested.
Okay. Have you seen the defendant since this day?
No,
The house where you saw him originally with the dogs, did you know who lived there?
no.
Okay. And when the first thing that was said that day is you told him, would you get your dog, something to that effect?
Are these your dogs? Did you get them?
You were worried about your puppy?
Yes.
Okay. And that's when the aggressive behavior started and continued?
Yes.
I have no further questions, thanks, Judge.
Mr. McPhee?
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Ms. Gonzalez.
Okay.
On the day in question, you saw two Hungarian Vizslas come out into the street from the house, correct?
The two big dogs.
Two big dogs.
They didn't come out of the house. They were loose out in the streets. They were just smelling and going around people's lawns.
And they were Hungarian Vizslas, correct?
I don't know that.
You-
I'm
You
not-
don't know what a Hungarian Vizsla is? Okay. Do you know what a pit bull is?
Yes.
Were they pit bulls?
No, they were not good.
Do you know what a German Shepherd is?
Yes.
Were they German Shepherds?
They looked like German Shepherds to me at first,
Okay.
but they were, but.
Were they German Shepherds?
No.
No.
No, they were not.
Were they Doberman Pinschers? You don't know what a Doberman Pinscher is? Okay. Do you know what a Rottweiler is?
No.
Okay. Do you have any other knowledge about dangerous breeds of dogs, such as pit bulls?
No.
Do you know that pit bulls are generally recognized to be dangerous?
Objection asked and answered. She said she doesn't have any knowledge of that.
I'm going to sustain that objection. Go on.
Quit trying.
With your questions about what type of big dogs these were. Okay,
Yes, Your Honor.
go ahead.
You asked Mr. Hillygus here to come get the dogs, correct?
Yes. I
Did he-
asked if they were there, his dogs.
Please just answer the questions themselves. You did ask him to come get the dogs, correct?
Yes.
Did he come get the dogs that were bothering you?
One.
One dog?
One dog come towards me.
Okay. So there was one dog coming towards you or two dogs?
It was Hillygus that grabbed the dog to come towards me.
What I'm asking is initially, did one dog come towards you
Two.
or did two dogs? Okay, so two dogs came towards you, correct? And he came and got one dog, correct?
Aggressively got him, yeah.
He came and got one dog, correct? And the other dog retreated, correct?
At that point, I lost sight of where the other dog was.
Okay. But you no longer saw the second dog?
No.
Okay, so there was one dog you no longer saw, correct? And the one remaining dog that was in your vicinity was taken under control by Mr. Hillygus, correct?
Yes.
And you had asked him to do that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You stated Mr. Hillygus said that he was taking his dog for a walk, correct?
That's not the word that he used, but yes.
He was taking his dog for a walk, correct? That's what he told you, is that he was taking his dog for a walk, correct?
He aggressively told me that, yes.
And Did he proceed to take his dog for a walk?
No,
He did not.
no,
Did he take his dog down to the river?
no,
Did he take his dog back to the house in question?
no,
Did he get in his truck and leave the scene?
no,
After the first 911 call, Officer Welch arrived in the neighborhood, correct? And after the first time he was there, he told you there was nothing he could do, correct?
Objection, hearsay.
I'm just-
Your Honor, I'm basing that off of her testimony, that she said during her testimony that Officer Welch said, there's nothing I can do.
Your response?
It was hearsay then, and he didn't object, but it's still hearsay.
He's absolutely correct in that, so I'm going to sustain the objection.
Understood, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
So after the first visit by Officer Welch, you and the individual, I think you referred to him as Jose or Jesus, sorry.
I remember more Philip, but Jesus was there, yeah. Jesus.
But I have a Jesus,
Yes.
Jose
Okay.
Martinez,
Yes.
so Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
So after the officer had contact with you the first time, you and Mr. Martinez together walked past the Hillygus house, correct?
Yes,
How old at the time would you say Mr. Martinez was?
I don't know,
20, 80,
maybe 28, 29.
in his 20s, perhaps? Okay. How much approximately do you think he weighed?
I don't know,
100, 400,
200?
200 pounds? Okay. Is he taller than you?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember if he's taller than you or not?
At that point, I was not.
But you and him together, after the first incident, walked by the Hillygus house.
Yes,
Was Mr. Hernandez holding his phone up and recording or taking pictures of Mr. Hillygus?
no,
No.
not that I remember, no.
No further questions. Thank you, Mrs. Gonzalez.
Stralla?
Just a few, Judge. You testified, Ms. Gonzalez, just now in cross-examination, that the defendant grabbed his dog and was pulling it towards you. Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Go ahead and describe that if you would.
He grabbed the dog by the collar. They had one of the simple collars just around the neck. He grabbed the dog, and the dog refused to follow his directions or his whatever he wanted to do, because the dog kept pulling back, and he kept on grabbing and pulling him down and telling him to heel. He mentioned, he yelled at the dog a couple times, heel, heel.
And was he coming towards you when he was doing this?
Yes, because he wanted him to heel, and then he started proceeding to walking towards me with the dog and kept on pushing the dog or pulling the dog towards me.
And that's when he stopped and we got about a foot from your face.
Mhm.
And what did he say again?
He said, I'm just walking my fucking dog.
Okay, so when you testified that in cross-examination that he was walking his dog and you said he said it aggressively, that's what he said.
Yeah, he just kept on saying, I'm walking my fucking dog and coming towards me.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody's walking their dog,
Yeah.
what's the point of coming
Okay.
towards me?
Mr. Vice Chairman McPhee. Mr. McPhee asked you questions about the physical description or size of of Jesus, correct?
Yes.
Now, what were you paying attention to at that time? Were you paying attention to those details, or what were you paying attention to?
Paying attention to how aggressive this person was telling me about her physically,
And when you say this person, who are you talking about?
Hillygus.
Okay. And you said Jesus walked you towards your house.
Yes,
Did you have to pass by the Hillygus house to get to your house?
yes, that was the only way I could get.
Okay. And he was still being aggressive towards you at that point?
Yes.
No further questions.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Gonzalez, to clarify, you said Mr. Hillygus did state that he was walking his dog, correct? But he did not take his dog down to the river?
No.
He did not take the dog back to the house in question?
No,
He did not get in his truck and drive off?
no,
And then you did place a second 911 call, correct? Okay. No further questions?
I don't remember a second 911 call.
I'm sorry?
I don't remember placing a second 911.
Okay,
I don't remember. It's been almost 5 years.
understand. No further questions, Your Honor.
That's fine, Judge, thank you.
Okay, can we go ahead and excuse?
Yeah, we can excuse her, and I'd like to hold her for possible recall, Judge.
Okay, so, Ms. Gonzalez, I'm gonna excuse you right now, you're gonna have a seat in the lobby. Do you remember my admonishment to you?
Yes.
You don't talk to anybody?
Correct.
And you're gonna remain there because you said you might wanna call her for.
Possibly, yes, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your next witness, Mr.
Um,
Stralla.
Mr. Gunther Prosser, the other witness.
Let's get back to the record here. Back on the record on case 20 270 versus Roger Eugene Hillygus. And I believe you were just getting ready
Yeah,
to call.
next witness will be Gunther Prosser, Your Honor.
Okay,
I can go get him real quick.
okay. Hello.
Hello.
We're gonna come up here and have.
Through here?
Okay, and you know you've been sworn in, and I want you to state your full name for the record and spell your last name, please.
Okay, my name is Heinz Gunther Prosser. Last name is Prosser.
Mr. Stralla.
Mr. Prosser, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, sir?
I am 69 years old.
Where do you live?
I live at 405 Avenue de la Louis Claire in Lockwood, right next to Sylvia Barbosa.
Okay. Is that in Story County, Nevada?
That is in Story County, Nevada.
What do you do for work, or are you retired?
I am retired.
Okay. And how long have you been retired?
About 17 years.
Good for you.
Thank you.
How long have you lived at that residence?
32 years.
How would you describe that neighborhood?
Very nice.
Okay.
I have a nice neighborhood. Quiet. Except for the trains.
Yeah. It's part of the Rainbow Bend, is that what it's called?
It's a Rainbow Bend subdivision, yes.
Okay, and is there like a homeowners association there too?
We have a homeowners association, we have a clubhouse, we have the tennis courts, and, you know, we have the building a senior center out there, so it's a nice little community.
All right. It's close to Sparks if you have to go into town?
4 miles.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned your neighbor was Sylvia?
Yes.
Is that the lady that was just in the courtroom?
Yes.
All right. And how long does she live there, as best as you?
Over 10 years.
All right. And where does she live in proximity to your home?
She's my next door neighbor.
All right.
On the west side.
And do you consider her to be a good neighbor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And as a neighbor over the years, have you gotten to know her?
Yes, we communicate,
Okay.
you know, just,
And I want to direct your attention to June 20th, 2020. Were you at home on that day?
I was.
Okay, and how is that day significant?
Well, I was sitting in my little office area in the front part of the home. And, because you want me to.
Well, I'll go through it with you. So
Okay.
you were, what time of day was it, as best as you can recall?
Around 9 o'clock, 8:39.
In the morning?
Yeah.
What did you observe when you were sitting in your office?
Well, I looked out and the sheriff's car was at the corner. There's a street that goes north and south. And the sheriff's car was on the corner. And Sylvia had her dog with her, Luna. It's like a husky. And she was talking to the officer in the car.
Okay, what occurred next?
I have hearing aids, so.
I'll come up closer.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
I can
okay.
turn it up.
I understand.
And it echoes in here, so.
Just remember, okay, yes, I was gonna say, just remember if you go up, try to be close to his mic or your mic.
Okay.
Okay.
So you noticed Sylvia speaking to one of the deputies?
One of the deputies, and he was sitting in his car, right?
Okay. And what did you notice, if anything, about Sylvia at that point?
Well, I didn't really see, she was talking to him, so I didn't really see her face.
Okay.
But I walked out to my front porch because it just so happens to be Sylvia's birthday that day. And when she got done talking to the officer, I was gonna wish her a happy birthday.
Did the officer drive off at that point?
He did, yes.
Okay. So you know Sylvia well enough to know that that day was her birthday?
Yes,
Okay. And you were going to wish her a happy birthday?
right.
What happened next?
Well, she came, after the officer left, she came across the street, and I was walking into my front yard, and she was walking towards me, and I just saw that she was noticeably emotionally, like distressed, and instead of saying happy birthday, I said, what's the matter? And
And then she said some things to you?
she said that some things, yeah.
Okay. And what did you notice about her demeanor at that point?
Well, again, she was very distraught, and she was starting to shed tears,
Okay.
and not actually, not really deep crying, but just shedding tears. And I'd never seen that before.
Did she appear to be afraid to you?
She was very, yes, absolutely.
Objection, leading your honor. That was, I agree.
Yeah, sustained, try that again.
So, how did she appear to you?
She appeared emotionally distressed,
Okay,
I guess is a good way.
all right. Had you ever seen her like this before?
No.
In all the time you were neighbors, you'd never seen her this way?
She's a very upbeat type of person, very friendly.
She had her dog with her?
She had a dog in the front yard, yeah.
And did you see the dog on the leash at this point, or do you remember?
No, he was on the leash.
Okay. And then what occurred?
Well, the officer had left, and just at that time, from east to west, I saw a gentleman, because I don't know this gentleman. He was walking, and he had his dog in his arm, little dog, and he had, I was assuming, a camera, and he was videotaping us as he was walking by.
Okay, is that person in the courtroom today? You don't remember?
I really don't.
Okay.
I never met him. I can't remember really seeing him that well.
But you remember a person holding was it a male? Was that individual with the dog and you believe filming, was he a male?
Yes, it was a male, and I told him, I said, quit videotaping us. He said, no, I'm videotaping my dog. I said, oh, okay. All right, you want me to keep going?
Yeah, how did Sylvia react when this person came up with the dog and the videotape?
Well, he didn't come up to us. He was at the other side of the street, and he was just walking, like I said, from east to west. And I just made that one comment, and then I turned and talked to Sylvia, just saying, oh, yeah, he's videotaping us. And then the next time I looked down the street, I saw that the officer drove by, and I said, this guy's videotaping us, what are you gonna do about it? So anyway, the officer just kept going, and I was watching him go down the street about 300 yards down the street by the stop sign, I saw that, actually past the stop sign, I saw that he was talking to the gentleman and went ahead and put handcuffs on.
Okay, when you spoke to that person, you mentioned he was a male, correct? Was he, what race would you say? Was he Caucasian, black, Hispanic? Do you recall?
I'd say Caucasian.
Okay. And you'd never seen this individual before?
Never met, never heard the name, never.
Did this individual say anything to you when you told him, when you made comments to him?
No, he just said, I'm videotaping my dog.
Okay. And does Sylvia still live next door to you?
Yes.
Have you seen her in that condition since this day? Emotional, as you described?
Not that emotional, no.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, thanks.
Mr. McPhee?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Prosser, can you hear me okay?
I can't.
Okay, sometimes I don't speak up, and if I trail off and mumble, please let me know, and I'll speak up again, okay?
I just got it, so.
Mr. Prosser, you stated that you're not able to identify the defendant as being the person that was there that day in question 5 years ago, correct?
Correct.
But in regards to the man that you did see, you did not witness him approach Sylvia in an aggressive manner, did you? Correct?
No.
No.
Because he was just walking. I mean, he didn't stop or anything. He was just
He didn't stop or anything, he was just walking.
walking, looking at us with,
Okay.
assuming a camera.
Okay, and you did not see him make any kind of obscene gesture, correct?
No.
No. Okay. And when you did see him, you stated that he was actually on the other side of the street, correct?
Correct.
And he was holding a small dog, I believe a pug, in one of his arms, correct? And he did not make any threats whatsoever.
No.
The only thing he said was, "I'm filming my dog."
Right.
So he had his camera out, correct? Or, I'm sorry, Your Honor. He had his phone out in one hand, and then, is that correct? Phone in one hand, and in the other hand, he had a small dog in the other arm.
Right.
And when you said to him, "Don't film us," he said, "I'm filming my dog."
Right.
Was he aggressive towards you?
No.
Was he aggressive towards Miss Sylvia Gonzalez?
No.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Stralla?
Mr. Prosser, did you see what occurred between this gentleman, this person, and Sylvia prior to you leaving your home?
No.
Okay. All you saw that she was upset at this point, correct?
I started witnessing from when she was speaking to the sheriff and when she came into my yard, when this gentleman walked down the street and then the handcuffs. That's all.
Okay. So you don't know anything about what occurred before that?
I have no idea what.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead and excuse this witness.
Yes, he can take off there.
You're not gonna,
No, I'm not gonna recall.
okay. So, you're excused, thank you. And this case is still going right now, so don't discuss your testimony with anybody else.
Okay. But I need to stay in the courthouse or?
No, you don't. You're excused.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will.
Mr. Strada?
Judge, this is the point where I was gonna call Mr. Hilton as my next witness. As I stated previously, I just found out this morning that he is home with a sick wife. He has been served with a subpoena, and I can provide proof of that to the court.
Are you going to,
I'm
are you
asking-
starting with the motion right now?
Yeah, I'm making a motion.
Okay, then should we put you,
Yeah, well, I'm making a motion first motion I make is if he can appear by Zoom,
Okay,
and if they're gonna object to it, then I'm gonna have to make a motion to continue.
but you're not gonna make any type of Hillygus or?
Then I will make a Hillygus if they object to him appearing by Zoom.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what did, sorry, I'm interrupting,
That's okay.
but what were you saying again?
I'm asking that if it's okay if Mr. Hilton can appear via Zoom today.
Okay, and because, again,
Because he's in a situation where he can't leave the home because my understanding after I spoke to my office is his wife is very ill.
okay, so just stopping at that, Mr. McPhee.
Your Honor, we're very disappointed to hear that. I myself came up from Las Vegas, the defendant came from Texas, and I believe the witness lives in very close proximity. So we're very disappointed that he's not here in person. However, we don't want to continue this matter after 5 years, and we will not object, Your Honor.
Thank you. So there's no objection to the witness appearing via Zoom. Are you going to have a
I'm gonna need a few minutes to arrange that.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna take a brief recess. We've got to send a link to the witness, and then we'll continue from there. You think, Mr. Hilton, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so we're gonna swear him in or ready to go after that, Mr. Stralla?
Yes, please, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Mr. Hilton, please raise your right hand. My clerk is going to swear you in, okay?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the statements you're about to make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Put your hand down. And if there's at any time when you don't hear someone or or you have problems with your connection, please let us know immediately, okay?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Mr. Hilton, would you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Philip Allen Hilton, and it's Phillip, Allen, Allen, Hilton, Hilton.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Stralla.
Mr. Hilton, where do you reside, sir?
Right now I'm in Palomino Valley, North Reno.
I'm going to direct your attention back to 2000, June of 2000. Where were you living at that time?
382 Rue de la Rouge, Sparks, Nevada, 89431, and then it's in Lockwood, Story County.
Thank you. How long had you lived at that residence?
Since 2000.
Did you know an individual by the name of Sylvia Gonzalez?
No, I did not.
Did there come a point in time when you met her?
Yes, I did.
I want to direct your attention to June 20th of 2000. Did you meet Sylvia Gonzalez that day?
Yes, I did.
And what were the circumstances of that meeting?
I was working on my house and I had stepped inside and my son-in-law had come to get me to say that there was a problem outside. Then I walked outside and Sylvia was towards the end of my property crying hysterically, asking the gentleman to stop harassing her.
Okay, where was a gentleman pointed out?
Yes,
Where was he?
he was on towards my driveway. He was probably about 50 feet from her, but heading towards her.
What was her emotional state like at that time?
She was pretty hysterical. She didn't know what was going on and she was crying and very scared.
What was the individual you just described, the gentleman doing?
He was walking towards her and he had his dog by the collar and he had the collar twisted real tight and he was pretty much dragging the dog by the back feet because the front feet were off the ground and going towards her with the dog. And she was standing there with her dog trying to back away from him.
What happened next?
I intervened and got in front of him.
What'd you say?
What are you doing? And you better stop.
What did this individual do?
He didn't say a word. He just, his eyes were glazed over. And honestly, I don't think he understood what I was telling him.
Did he back off?
Yeah, after I think I put my hand on his chest and I was rearing back to defend her. Then he stopped and kind of walked away.
So I take it you felt that she might need defense at that point?
Absolutely.
Was he walking towards her in an aggressive manner?
Very much so.
What occurred next?
The dog had slipped out of the collar, the dog had ran off. And then he turned and walked back to the house that he was working on, I believe.
All right. And then what happened?
We called the sheriff. The sheriff came down. The sheriff parked in front of my house, and we were right in the middle of telling him what was happening. And I guess he had got a call that the gentleman had went to her house and was at her door, so he abruptly left and took care of that. Then he came back to the house afterwards.
The sheriff came back to the house?
Yes.
Did you ever see this individual that was approaching Sylvia again?
Not to my knowledge.
You completed a written statement in this case, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And you mentioned in that statement any type of hand gesture?
Objection, leading, Your Honor.
Well, no, I'm just asking, did you review that statement, Mr. Hill?
Just a second.
Yes, sir.
Just a second.
Hold on.
We'll sustain that and he'll rephrase his question.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Stralla.
Did you notice if the gentleman you described made any hand gestures?
I just thought of something. I did see him again after that. He was at the back of the police car when the cop pulled back up to my house.
What happened then?
I wrote out the statement and gave it to the officer, and then I think that's the last time I seen him.
Okay, I sent you a copy of I texted you a copy of your statement, is that correct?
Yes, you did, sir.
And do you remember writing in your statement about a hand gesture that the gentleman made towards you or Sylvia? Look on the last page.
Yeah, he flipped us off, that is correct.
Okay. Was he with the sheriff's deputy when he did that?
No, I think he was, this was 4 years ago.
Almost 5.
Yeah, almost 5 years ago. I think it was in the sheriff's car, or I remember he did make a gesture. We just kind of laughed it off, thinking, "Oh, you're in handcuffs."
Yeah.
Um,
So he did, you remember him flipping you guys off?
yes, he did.
And have you had any
Objection
contact?
again, leading, Your Honor.
Leading as to what?
You remember, he again led about being flipped off, Your Honor.
Well, didn't you already say you made a hand gesture? So he recalled making the hand gesture. Okay, you said flipping off, he's just saying hand gesture, is that correct?
Yeah, he said flipped off, that was his words, Judge.
Hand gesture,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, objection withdrawn, Your Honor.
So after this day, did you ever have contact again with Sylvia Gonzalez?
Yes, a couple times. I ran into her at a restaurant that I was eating at. And then I think right after that, her and her husband came over to the house, and her husband was thanking me for protecting her.
All right. And was her demeanor different on those occasions than when you first saw her on June 20th?
Well, when they came over to the house, she was still pretty shaken up, and her husband was with her. But then when I seen her and her husband at the restaurant, they seemed to be fine, but that was about a year and a half ago.
Okay. But on that day, June 20th, you said her demeanor was hysterical and crying?
Yes, it was.
I have no further questions.
Mr. McPhee?
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Mr. Hilton, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Mr. Hilton, in your statement, you referred to the individual in question, the defendant perhaps here, if you're able to identify him, that he was holding a pointer by the collar. Do you recall that?
Yes, yeah, I think that was the breed of the dog.
Are you familiar with the pointer breed?
I am.
Okay, so you were able to recognize pretty easily that this was, I believe it was a Hungarian Vizsla, but it was a type of pointer dog, correct?
It was a breed of pointer, yes.
Are you certain about that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And do you recall, was he carrying another dog in his other hand? Isn't that correct?
No, I don't.
You don't recall that? You don't recall a dog? Okay, that's okay. But you did state that you went out, or I'm sorry, let me back up. When you first encountered Ms. Sylvia Gonzalez and you looked out in the street, you stated that Mr. Hillygus was approximately 50 feet from her. Is that right?
Yeah, about 50 feet.
And then you went out in the street to get between them, correct?
That is correct.
And you placed your hand on Mr. Hilligus's chest?
Yeah, I do. I put my hand up. I don't know if I touched his chest, but I gave him you better stop.
But it was close enough that you could have touched his chest, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, okay. At that point, you told him to turn around and go home, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And he said that he was taking his dog for a walk, correct?
I don't think he said anything. He was just, he had a blank face. There was nothing there. I don't think he understood what I was saying.
I think in your statement you said there was no expression on his face. Is that an accurate statement that you recall?
Yeah, I would say that he had no expressions.
Okay. And did he, in fact, take his dog on a walk?
I have no idea.
Okay. Did he take his dog down to the river where the chain link fence was?
Yeah, he was trying to get around me to get back to her, but I kept stepping in front of him, telling him he needed to go home.
Okay. So in your statement, you say that he did, in fact, go down to the river. This voluntary statement has already been brought up. Do you think if you looked at it one more time, it might refresh your memory? Because it seems you're having trouble remembering some of the statements. And could you perhaps look at it one more time? Do you believe if you did, that would help you remember?
I can't look at it one more time if you'd like me to.
If
That's
you're
what he's
looking for.
asking you.
There is a second paragraph to it, so you're aware. It's 2 pages long.
Yes.
And please let me know when you've completed reading it.
I'm done reading.
Okay, do you feel that that has refreshed your memory and you're able to
Yes.
continue? Okay.
Yes.
So if you could please put that aside, I don't want you to rely on it. I want you to rely on memory, please.
Okay.
And is it correct that in your statement, do you remember now that you wrote the following: when he got to the river and chain link fence, he turned around and walked in the parking lot area and went home. He got in his truck and drove away. Is that
Yes.
correct?
I do believe that is correct.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Stralla.
Just a couple, Judge. You just testified, Mr. Hilton, that this individual, the defendant, was trying to get around you to get to her? Is that what you stated?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think that's what I meant by him going toward the chain link fence. There's a sewage facility right there, and he was trying to head around that way, heading to the river. And I was blocking him from doing that.
So when you say get to her, who's the her you're referring to?
Sylvia Gonzalez.
So is your testimony he was aggressively trying to get to her?
Objection.
Absolutely.
Your Honor.
Absolutely.
Just a second. Mr. Stralla?
I'll
Okay,
rephrase.
okay, he's gonna rephrase it.
How would you describe how he was trying to get to her?
Very aggressive.
No further questions.
Mr. McPhee?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hilton, is it correct to say that Mr. Hillygus and the river, you were in between the two of them, correct? You were in.
Yes.
Wait, so when he eventually got around you after you put your hand on his chest and told him to go home, did he approach and get near Miss Sylvia Gonzalez again, or did he go to the river and the chain link fence?
As he was trying to go around me, I was putting myself in between her and him.
And
I wasn't gonna let him get close to her.
And he continued on and went to the river / chain link fence, correct?
Yeah, he started walking that way, and then, as I want to say at that point, I was backing off, and then I think he did turn around and start heading home after that. Because I think he realized I wasn't gonna let him get anywhere near her.
Okay, but he also, as you stated, we just covered, he went to the river with the dog. We just covered this, sir. Are you retracting your previous statement?
No, I'm trying to recall exactly what happened. His dog got loose, so maybe he wanted to go get his dog by the river and then run back. It was, I was focused on protecting Sylvia Gonzalez more than his dog.
Understood. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
No,
Anything else?
thanks, Judge.
Can we go ahead and excuse this witness?
We can.
Okay, Mr. Hilton, thank you for your appearance. You are excused. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton.
Mr. Stralla.
The state would rest its case.
Okay, thank you. With that, Mr. McPhee.
Your Honor, the defense rests and we are prepared for our closing argument.
So,
Can I get Ms. Gonzalez in here to listen?
yeah, why don't you get everybody in here? Okay, so, what I have to do is closing and then rebuttal.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Why don't you go, anything else?
I'll just, nothing further. I'm prepared to do an opening closing argument, Judge.
Okay.
Judge.
So, go ahead.
The defendant is charged with the misdemeanor crime of breach of peace, which specifically charges that on June 20th, 2020, Story County, Nevada, he did maliciously and willfully disturb the peace or quiet of any neighborhood or person. And as we heard from the testimony, in this case, that person is Sylvia Gonzalez, by tumultuous and offensive conduct, threatening, traducing, quartering, challenging, or fighting. It's an inclusive statute. However, any of those elements are met. If any of those elements are met, then the defendant would be guilty of the crime. In this case, you heard that she felt offended by his conduct that day, the defendant's conduct, and certainly felt threatened and scared, Judge. Specifically, we charged that he advanced to her in an aggressive manner. Her testimony was he got right in her face and said, "I'm walking my fucking dog." It scared her. And then he continued to advance and go towards her and wouldn't leave her alone. And the testimony you heard from Mr. Hilton, you just heard, corroborates her testimony that he still was coming at her to the point where Mr. Hilton had to step in between them to keep him from aggressively coming at her. All she was doing that day was walking her dog. Apparently there were some dogs loosed. Mr. Hillygus, the defendant, grabbed one of those dogs in an aggressive manner, dragging the dog, choking the dog, which certainly shows his demeanor at that time in his tent, that he was angry. But in any event, the actions he showed towards Sylvia Gonzalez established the elements of the crime of breach of peace, which he committed on that day. And further, we know that she was offended and felt threatened when you heard from her neighbor, Mr. Prosser, who said, "I've never seen Sylvia like that. She was crying, she was scared." And he also saw an individual filming her holding a dog, Judge. In fact, this case is almost 5 years old in a few days, and you can tell from Ms. Gonzalez's testimony that it still bothers her to this day, the way he aggressively came at her, got in her face, and scared her, Judge. Based upon her testimony alone and the cooperation from the two other witnesses, the state has met its burden in proving the crime of breach of peace that was committed by the defendant on that day.
Mr. McPhee?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, it is our strong opinion that the state has not met their burden in this case. This is not a civil case where we're deciding maybe he breached the peace, maybe he didn't. The statute says maliciously and willfully disturb the peace. Additionally, the factual allegations are that the defendant advanced toward Sylvia Gonzalez in an aggressive manner twice. She acknowledged herself, Your Honor, that she asked him to come get the dogs that were loose. He complied with that. He came and got the dogs. The allegation that he made an obscene gesture, we dispute that, but Your Honor, even in the event that someone gave someone the middle finger, although maybe distasteful, I don't think here in this country we arrest people and prosecute people for giving people a middle finger. And we really didn't hear much evidence at all put on today that that even occurred, Your Honor. Moving on, the allegation that he stood in the street outside Sylvia Gonzalez's home. Mr. Prosser testified today that he was across the street walking, and he said he just walked on by. He was holding a small dog, it was a pug, in one hand, and he walked on by. He was holding his phone, and they said, "Hey," according to Mr. Prosser, "stop recording us." And he said, "I'm recording my dog." And we asked Mr. Prosser, "Did he threaten you? Did he say anything else?" "No, that was all he said." "Did he threaten you at all?" "No, he didn't say anything." "Was he aggressive?" "No." He just said, "I'm recording my dog." And he was on the other side of the street, and he kept walking by. The allegation that, again, addressing the videotaping of the neighbors, and again, there really wasn't any evidence put on that he refused to leave the area, but the opposite. Mr. Prosser told us that he left the area. Even Mr. Hilton said he was trying to get around them. And although he was hostile towards the defense, I would argue in his testimony, he acknowledged his written statement that was as follows. He had no expression on his face. And he finally said that he was going to take his dogs to the river. When he got to the river and chain link fence, he turned around and walked to the parking lot area and went home. He got in his truck and drove away. I think, Your Honor, I don't want to disrespect the victim in any way here. I'm sure she was very upset and scared, and I believe subjectively she was very upset. But I think objectively, Your Honor, it's very unreasonable for a person. It just so happens I own an 8-year-old Hungarian Vizsla pointer hunting dog, and they are the most docile, friendly dogs that you could have. And I understand maybe she doesn't know what type of dogs they are. Maybe subjectively she was scared, Your Honor, that's understandable. But I think objectively, getting so upset, calling 911 once, twice, 3 times was very unreasonable, Your Honor. And I do not think, more importantly, that the state has met their burden, that my client is guilty of breaching the peace maliciously and willfully, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Sure, Your Honor, just kind of going backwards with the counsel's argument. The evidence in this case that we have is that she made one 911 call. She doesn't recall making any more 911 calls than that. It really doesn't matter much, Judge, in terms of that anyways. She was scared enough to call 911. That's where the substantive evidence is in here. Mr. Prosser, his testimony supports how upset she was and how scared she was. He'd never seen her like this before. He didn't see what occurred to make her that way, but he did see the defendant pursuing her. He did see that, which corroborates what she said. He only saw the aftermath of the disturbing or breach of peace, what the defendant did in this case, Your Honor. Getting in her face, using foul language, aggressively coming towards her. Not only in that occasion, but you're from Mr. Hilton, continued to come at her aggressively. The fact that he flipped someone off, that's not a crime, I agree. But it is an evidence of what his intent was, his malicious frame of mind, his willful frame of mind, that he was angry and he wanted to disturb or breach the peace of Sylvia Gonzalez. And the way he was talking to her shows that too. The way he was aggressively coming at her shows that too. So that is evidence of what was malicious and certainly willful. It'd have been one thing if he would have grabbed the dog and flipped her off or called her name and left her alone, but he continued to pursue her, Judge, because he wanted to scare her. He wanted her to let her know that he was going to have it his way. And another great example of the evidence in this case of what his frame of mind was is he's choking his own dog. He's so angry. It scared her. It still scares her to this day, Judge. The state has met its burden of proving this crime beyond a reasonable doubt. And just the testimony alone of Ms. Gonzalez meets that burden, and the testimony of the two other witnesses support that she was being truthful and honest with the court today, that she was scared and that the defendant breached the peace in this case.
So we look at some of my notes here. Well, first of all, thank everyone for being here today. At least the weather was nice to be able to tell today. Based upon due consideration and deliberation of all the evidence lawfully admitted in this hearing, whether it was direct, circumstantial, the testimony that I heard from the witnesses, and with all the inferences and presumptions that may lawfully be drawn from such evidence, and having considered the demeanor and credibility of the witnesses, and applying the appropriate standard of proof as required by law, the court finds that the defendant, Roger Eugene Hillygus, on June 20th, 2020, here in Story County, Nevada, committed the crime of breach of peace as set forth on the record. So what we're going to do now is I found the defendant guilty. This is where we go on to sentencing. Are the parties prepared to proceed with sentencing today?
We are, Judge. That's what Ms. Gonzalez
Are
wants.
you prepared?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Did you need a break or anything?
No, I'm good, Judge.
Okay, so Mr. Hillygus, what we're going to do, did you want to say something to him? Or- Okay, I don't want to. I'm going to be hearing from both attorneys. You will have the opportunity to address the court personally also. And then after you address the court personally, if the victim wishes to make a victim impact statement, we'll have her do that too. Okay? So, Mr. Stralla, as far as sentencing,
Judge, this is what I know. I kind of researched Mr. Hillygus a little bit. I know he had a case in Washoe County where he pled guilty to a felony, and I believe he's on probation for that right now. I think he resides in Texas, so he must have compacted out of the state of Nevada.
yeah, I think you live in Texas now. Yeah, I believe he does.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know what was going on with Mr. Hillygus at this time. I know what the circumstances, a little bit about what occurred in the case in Washoe County. I also know the person, the co-defendant, yet I know him very well, Mr. Hansy. I've known him for many years. So I don't know, what was going on in Mr. Hillygus' mind at that time. I read something in one of the court transcripts that he might have suffered a traumatic brain injury. I don't know why he reacted the way he did with Ms. Gonzalez that day. However, it was totally inappropriate. It scared I won't swear in court, but it scared the heck out of her. It still bothers her to this day. When I spoke to her after she testified, she was emotional, and she still is, Judge. I know from what I've read in the case, Mr. Hillygus was living in Dayton at the time. I don't know what he was doing at that house in Lockwood, but what he did that day was over the top and wrong. Basically, what I want out of this case in a sentence, Judge, is an assurance that he leave Ms. Gonzalez and her family alone. that he stay away from her residence. I have a feeling Mr. Hillygus agrees with that. I hope he does. I'm gonna ask for 180 days in jail, hanging over his head. That he stay away from Ms. Gonzalez. I'm not gonna ask that he pay a fine, do any community service. I just want her to be left alone. And she's a good person in this community, Judge. She works at the school for years. She has a family. She's a good neighbor. You heard from Ms. Prosser, and she did not deserve to be treated that way. And I don't know what Mr. Hillygus is gonna say, if anything at all. He doesn't have to say anything, but if I was him, I'd be ashamed of myself and I'd be sorry. And I get the feeling sometimes that he picked on her that day because she's female. I don't know. Like, he's the only one that knows that. But in any event, this was just wrong. I just want him to stay away from her. It is a breach of peace misdemeanor conviction on his record, which might not seem like too much if you have a felony conviction. And it's not going to affect his probation because the crime occurred after he was sentenced in the felony case in Reno and Washoe County. But if he does anything like this in the future again in the state of Nevada, consequences are going to be worse. And hopefully he learned a lesson here. But I just want Ms. Gonzalez to know that we care about residents in Story County like her, and we're going to fight hard to make sure that they don't get treated. So that's my recommendation.
That 180 days you're asking for to be suspended,
Suspended for the maximum amount of time. I guess
that's 2 years?
2 years, yes.
Thank you. Mr. McPhee?
Your Honor, this case has gone on for almost 5 years now, and it's a misdemeanor breach of the peace case. It's been very difficult for my client to deal with this case. He has had a traumatic brain injury, and he has a number of medical problems that have exacerbated all of this, Your Honor. And we are in agreement with the state that any jail time please be suspended. We do think 180 days is very excessive, Your Honor, as would be the 2-year period of the suspension. We would request a much shorter time for any suspended jail time that was not given credit for time served, because I think he does have, and we would ask for, Your Honor, credit for, I believe, 18 days. We believe he served 18 days already in jail on this specific matter, Your Honor, and we pray that we get credit for time served on that. And more importantly, we would pray for a shorter term of any suspended jail time, Your Honor, and fewer days. Nothing further, Your
Anything
Honor.
else?
Nothing further.
Okay. So, Mr. Hillygus, this is, and you can be seated. Mr. Hillygus, this is your opportunity to address the court personally. I'm required to ask everyone if you're a veteran or a member of the military. You don't have to respond to that. But is there anything that you wanted to say before I decide on how to sentence on this?
Yes, I would. Ma'am,
And you don't have to stand either. Just make sure the mic is as close to you. Okay, sir?
I would say that yes, this has gone on for 5 years. I'm not a violent person in any way, shape, or form. I didn't come after anybody. I was recovering dogs that were loose that didn't even belong to me. I did take the dogs to a walk to the river, and I returned them to the painters that were painting a house that I was at to ensure that they were getting the job done. Why this alleged victim called? She called because dogs were loose. There was only one dog that got very close, and it was 1 year old. It was a Vizsla pointer, but it was not mine. I got the dogs, gave to the painters who had the custody of the animals, and I took him for a walk to the river to make sure that he wasn't going to bother her anymore. I've never seen her before that day. I don't intend to ever see her again. I live in Texas. I think she really blew this way out of proportion. She did call a second time to the 911 when she was walking by the property. And she called a third time, standing in front of Gunther Prosser's house. I had driven my truck around the corner, and I was just going to get my truck walking down the street. I didn't flip anybody off, and I testified to that an interview that I had with the arresting officer that wasn't here today. So I don't have any intention to ever contact her. I don't have any intention to be back in Nevada. I agree that I've done already time, and I've been very good with what I've been doing. I've got a background of 30 years as a public servant. I don't have any background of ever being involved with law enforcement or being violent in any respect. So you don't have any problems with me. I'm not going to do anything to anybody here in Nevada. I've never done that to anybody. I wouldn't be a very respected public servant for 30 years had I been somebody that was involved with bad behavior. So I think this was a big misunderstanding. It got drug on for many years. It had been set for trial many times. I think at least 10 times. I showed up at court many times and nobody else was here. It was vacated. I would say that if by me getting dogs away from her offended her, I'm sorry that that's how she felt, but I never used the F word. I know she said that many times. I'm not somebody that uses that kind of language. All I said is I got the dog under control and I'm taking him to the river. So I never got in her face. I never got anywhere close to her. So and I didn't use those words. That's not something that I do. I don't use those kind of vulgar words. Was I upset that I had to get dogs away from somebody that was exaggerating something? I might have been a little concerned that seemed kind of odd. But I love women. I was with a woman for 28 years, so I'm not against women, or I'm not against anybody based on their skin color. I'm not going at anybody for that reason. I went because she asked me to get the dogs away. They weren't even mine. I got the dogs, gave them back to the people that were controlling them, or supposedly controlling them, and I had a dog in my arms the whole time, a puppy, a pug puppy. And yes, I do have medical issues, and traumatic brain injury with frontal lobe problems causes, I take medication for seizures, I've got a balance disorder, I use a cane. With the seizures and with the balance disorder, my face with frontal lobe injury to traumatic brain injury causes probably some facial distortion at times. But I was in no way angry, other than it seemed odd that this person was upset about these dogs that were wagging their tails. It was just one dog, really. And the dog was a puppy wagging his tail, and her dog was young too, and she was lifting her dog up in the air, which also seemed kind of strange. I've got a background in being trained. I've trained dogs for my whole life. I've worked with hunting dogs. These were hunting dogs. I know how to work with dogs, so I wasn't doing anything that was inappropriate with the dogs. I didn't have a leash because they weren't mine. I was holding the dog that I was controlling, and I was trying to control an unruly dog that wanted to play with another dog. So I have a background in working with animals and dogs, and I don't believe she does. She had admitted that her dog is not trained and she doesn't understand dog breeds, what dogs look like. These dogs were not vicious, and I did not say anything to her other than I got the dog under control and I'm taking it to the river. When she was asked if I had threatened her, she said, no, he didn't threaten me. He said he has the dog under control and he's taking it to the river. And there wasn't anything to do at that point. I walked by her house and she called 911 again. I was on my way to leave to get the truck that I parked around the corner and leave the community. I did not stand and get in her face. I didn't go flip her off in her face. I didn't yell at her or cuss at her. I don't do that. So I'm going to be in Texas, and I would like to get this behind me as quick as possible, and I don't intend to come back and harass anybody.
Thank you, Mr. Hillygus. is
Kind of
victim.
Ms. Gonzalez, pursuant to Marcy's law, would like to have the last word.
She's gonna come up. Ms. Gonzalez, come on up, and I'm just gonna have you sit here, and this is a victim statement, so come on up here. And what a victim statement is, Ms. Gonzalez, is you're gonna explain to the court or tell the court what effect, impact this crime has had on you. So go ahead, please.
I have to say that about 5 years ago, I have never been threatened by anybody like he threatened me. I've never had anybody being so aggressive towards me like he was that day. For no apparent reason, he says I'm over exaggerating. If somebody gets into your face and starts yelling and cussing you out, I don't think I'm over exaggerating. Being a female, not in a male coming towards me that is bigger than me, with a dog, and I don't know about dogs, and I don't have to know. You don't have to be a dog trainer to know that, one, you were mistreating the dog, and two, I don't know how other dogs react. I had a puppy, and no, I'm not a trainer, and I'm not going to plan on being a trainer, a dog trainer. But I can tell you, I was scared. I'm still scared. For him, it was nothing. For him, nobody threatened him. Nobody did anything to him. Those were his dogs, because after that, he showed up to the neighborhood with those dogs. So saying that those are not his dogs, I do not believe that one bit, because I saw him afterwards. If then his wife would stand outside my house, 2 houses away, just staring at us. I was afraid they were going to do something to my kids at that time. My kids were a lot younger. That's one of the reasons every time I got subpoenaed, it made me so nervous, because having to see him again, having to relive everything again, for him it's nothing, but for me it is. For my family it is. For everything he did. And yes, it took me a while to even get back and walk my dog. I wish Hilton was here, but he never saw me walking my dog ever again. The fact that there's so many people that don't follow the rules for having their dogs on leash. I don't care, I don't know, I'm not gonna ask, and it's not my problem to know if they're aggressive or they're not. I'm following the rules. I'm walking my dog on a leash, and if you're not, I don't know what your dog is gonna do, and I don't know who you are, and I don't need to know. But you can, if I'm walking my dog, and if you don't wanna keep them on a leash, keep them close. They don't have to come up to other dogs and scare, like the way he scared me, the way he threatened me. Being here, never experienced this before, and him saying that I'm over exaggerating when it has affected my life. When there's email sent to me, threatening me, phone calls. It changed a lot of things in me. It changed trust. So for him, it was nothing. For me, it changed a lot in my life. And he did threaten me, he did scare me, he still scares me. And I still feel threatened. And my kids, I always told my kids, you stay away from everything, you stay away from their house, I don't want you close. My kids go on runs, sometimes they're very athletic, so you stay away from that street, you don't go near that street, I don't want any problems, I want nothing to happen to them. I told my husband, I don't want him to get involved in anything, I just want to leave it here, and if he has no contact with me and with my family ever, so that is what I want, and I don't want to ever see him again.
Have a seat. Heard from both parties, the defendant, the victim. She's no longer, she's not an alleged victim, she is a victim. And listening to your statements, Mr. Hillygus. They're very interesting. So sentencing will be as follows. 180 days in jail are suspended for a period of 2 years on the following conditions. Number 1, obey all laws. Number 2, you are to have no contact whatsoever with the victim, Sylvia Gonzalez. And when I say no contact, I mean no contact whatsoever. That's in writing, email, social media, fax, personal, even through a third party. No contact whatsoever. And you're also to stay away from the property line, 100 yards away from the property line of the victim. I don't have that exact address with me, but for the record, here it is. Oh, I don't have the exact address, but you're to stay away 100 yards away from the residence of the victim.
I have the address.
Okay, what is that?
I believe it's
404 Avenue de la Blue de Claire.
I can't hear.
404 Avenue de la Blue de Claire. That's in Lockwood, too.
Okay, thank you. So now we have the exact address. So obey all laws, no contact whatsoever with the victim, 100 yards, stay 100 yards away from the property line of the victim. And is there anything else I didn't cover there, Mr. Stralla? Or
No, the only thing I would add, Judge, is the time he did do in jail was on a contempt charge. It wasn't on this case.
yeah, I was gonna. He did spend some time in jail. That was on a contempt. But if there's any other time, like when he was arrested or whatever, we would credit for that, and that would actually be at the time of the arrest. But we would, I don't think we're ever going to see Mr. Hillygus again. He lived in Texas. He told the court he has no intention of returning to Nevada, and I believe you assured the court that you are not going to violate these conditions. So if there's nothing else, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.
All rise.